A group of young men had planned a bachelors' weekend in a cabin in the mountains. Suddenly, their dog took off and ran at full speed towards the forest. What happened next completely ruined their weekend plans. What would they discover in the depths of the forest, and what made the dog react in this astonishing way? Welcome to Wonderbot Animals. The dog ran towards a specific area of the forest, and no one was able to stop her at all. She had a clear mission and would not return to the cabin without investigating further. But what was she looking for? If you've ever stayed in a cabin in the middle of nowhere, you know it can be pretty stifling. The dog hadn't been in the cabin for more than 3 hours before she smelled something. For a dog, being in the forest is truly a dream. She couldn't have stayed in the cabin longer. It was too closed in for her. Going out meant freedom for her. When your dog runs off, it is very difficult to keep up and catch her. That's what leashes are for. But in the deep forests, leashes do not exist. It took the men a few minutes to reach the dog. When they did, they noticed something very strange indeed. What was in the forest, and why had the dog run so suddenly? When they arrived at the place where the dog was, she was standing next to an overturned boat, not wanting to leave. They tried to persuade her to leave with treats and sticks, but the dog still didn't move. She was trying to dig under the boat to get to something. But what? The men were very afraid of what could be under there. They didn't understand why the dog was so determined. It was like a horror movie, a remote area near a cabin. A strange overturned boat in the middle of nowhere. Don't blame these guys for thinking there might be a dead body under that thing. After digging for a while, the dog still couldn't get far enough under the boat to turn it completely. The men were hesitant to help the dog, not knowing what to expect. Ignorance was bliss in this kind of situation, but the dog was insistent and wouldn't leave. They had to do something to help her. So they lifted the side of the boat, and it was the best possible surprise they could have found. They never imagined that under the boat there would be 2 of the most beautiful kittens in the world. It seemed as though the dog was sniffing out an enemy. It is a fact that cats and dogs historically do not get along. But how had she managed to catch the scent of those 2 graceful animals all the way from the cabin? Before we continue with this amazing story, like this video to help it reach 12K likes, share and subscribe to this channel. The men looked at the kittens in amazement, and there were many questions they wanted to ask in that moment. They couldn't believe what they had found. It really was all so incredible. They had no way of knowing anything about them. Why were they under the boat? How long had they been there? Who had abandoned them? Was someone looking for them? These were all questions they wanted answered. Where was their mother? Had they been abandoned by their previous owners? The men had to quickly decide how to handle the situation, but they didn't know what to do. One thing was certain, the kittens were in great shape. They were not dirty, nor did they smell bad. Rather, they were in tip-top shape. They had probably been stuck under the boat for a short time. They had no injuries, which made the men think that they had simply been abandoned and were looking for a cozy place to call home. What would the group of friends do? What was surprising was the way their dog treated the kittens all the time. You can never be sure how a dog will treat a kitten. They can be quite unpredictable. Fortunately, the dog had been very kind and affectionate with cats from the beginning. Its demeanor was very nurturing, something that not all dogs would have displayed. Another problem that was quickly solved was seeing how the kittens reacted to the dog. Immediately, the 3 hit it off. The kittens were fearless and so comfortable that it was almost as if they had become best friends. The image of this dog taking care of 2 abandoned kittens is truly a heartwarming one. When the boys realized that their dog wasn't going to destroy these kittens, they lifted the boat completely. This opened up a whole new and fascinating world for the little animals. The only thing they wanted to do was to play in the forest that had been revealed to them. Finally, after a long time, they were free again. Imagine how they felt in the dark, under the boat, without being able to breathe clean air. The dog soon began treating the kittens as if they were her own, licking them as their natural mother would. Her maternal instincts kicked in quickly, regardless of who was in front of her. She was very worried about all the dirt that might be embedded in their fur. It was truly a magical moment for all the men to see. The dog's owner had never seen his dog behave like that. It really had been a matter of life and death for these cats. If it hadn't been for the dog's sense of smell leading her to the boat, who knows what would have happened to these poor kittens. Not only that, but the maternal instinct to make the little ones feel safe and comfortable certainly helped. What would the furballs have done if the dog hadn't rushed to save them? The men were grateful for the discovery their dog had made, and at one point they weren't even the most excited. Can you guess who was more excited? The dog. It was almost as if she knew what she had done. It was as if she knew she had saved some life and her tail wouldn't stop wagging. She was fully aware of the gesture she had made that morning. As expected, the men had to make a slight change to their plans. It was no longer just a bachelor's weekend in a remote cabin. The kittens were taken to the cabin so they could enjoy a good meal in a warm and cozy home. We're sure the kitties didn't mind this treatment, and after everything they'd been through, it was really necessary. One day, these kittens are trapped under a boat in the middle of a forest, and the next day, they are eating like kings and queens in a warm cabin with a group of people willing to shower them with hugs. Both kittens received a large bowl of food, which they really enjoyed. The men had brought meat for hamburgers and hot dogs, which they decided to use to save these lives. It turned out that the kittens had been abandoned there by their mother. For some reason, she had decided to leave them in the middle of the forest. The men decided to take them to the vet for a checkup. They wanted to make sure these little cats were disease-free. And the result? You will be shocked when you find out what the doctor told the men about the condition of these cats. The moment of truth came when the vet told them that their little friends were perfect. He added that he was surprised by the fitness of these two, considering where they had been found. Shortly after the trip to the vet, guess what happened? The men couldn't just bring the kittens from the forest and leave them with the vet. Someone would have to take care of them, so two of the friends ended up adopting them. Honestly, it was the perfect ending to this heartwarming story. The men enjoyed each other's company and even made some unexpected new friends who would stay with them for a lifetime. But what happened to the dog? Well, now he can go to sleep, feeling like a hero who saved two lives. We congratulate all the people who have participated in this incredible story. Have you ever found and kept an abandoned animal? Would you have dashed into the forest while staying at an isolated cabin? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and remember to like, share, and ring the notification bell for more wonderful stories. See you next time!